All right, thank you for listening to the radio blog here with me, Jennifer, and I have Sam for part 2 on narcissism abuse. We are going to talk about the problem with the solution to a lot of the concerns that we're going to address. Now, we addressed it in part 1, a lot of the concerns that she had lived with, and part 2 is going to talk about, well, we're going to try to make it that we talk about not just the problems, but the solutions and answers to this very complex problem. Okay, now I'm going to reintroduce Sam to the radio show, and here is Sam back with us. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Hello. We're still on the street, still enjoying the air, so it's still loud.
Yep,
You're
that's
welcome.
right. Sam, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And Sam really, it was like a kick in the gut because I, too, was a victim of a narcissist. And I was telling her, like, the words and vocabulary are very hard to learn because this is something very new to me. And she was filling in the gaps for me. She was basically explaining it with a little bit more fluid answers. And for somebody that's not familiar with this topic, the reason we brought it up is that it is not a very common problem, as many people might believe, but it is common in the respect that I don't have the data here, so I can't say for sure, but there are people with this growing problem. Narcissism is not rare, put it that way. So without the data, I don't have to say it, but there are people with narcissist traits without having the narcissism. They do have the traits. So with that said, we're going to get into the recovery and healing journey from escaping the narcissist. Now, this is where Sam comes in. All right, Sam, you got the mic here.
All right. What do you want me to say?
Well, therapy. A lot of people don't believe in therapy. You can go to counseling or you can go one-on-one with another person that's endured it. Here comes a truck. And that is one loud truck. We're outside on a park bench. So bear with us. A lot of people say secular therapy is secular and all that stuff. But I believe that there's a lot of trauma therapy, and because of the trauma bond of the victim going back or vice versa, the trauma bond is a real experience for the victim. And when the victim gets help, it stops that cycle from persistently reoccurring. And the treatment and therapy and counseling is to help prevent you from going back. And that works. It's very effective. Now, this is where I'm going to bring Sam in. Your experience in therapy and counseling has helped you cope, yes?
Yes. Whenever I was still in my abuse, I was unable to receive any type of counseling. So for me personally, I had really good friends, people who's been through things and such like that I was able to sit there and talk to other people that were educated in things that I weren't that I was not, and then I was able to kind of understand a little bit better what I was going through. But there's still something a little bit different about, like your girlfriends being like, oh yeah, screw that guy, whatever. Like, there's a big difference between that and somebody with a psychological degree that this is their job, this is what they do, looking at you and you spewing whatever happened to you and them saying, and that's valid. Or, I hear you, and that's justified. And then if there's something that you're describing and you're like, I feel this way and it makes me feel this way, and then this happens to me, there's a term for that. And they'll tell you what that term is. And it's just getting that
Validation.
validation is such a big thing, because I can validate everybody in the world, and I will do my best to let you know, like, I mean it, and I feel that I have enough quote unquote qualifications to be able to do such. But just sitting there with somebody that knows it, and like they can give you that extra ways of coping, the 5 techniques, which a lot of people don't know. It's just 5 different senses. There's different variations of it, but basically you want to see something, you want to taste something. There's a bike going past. You want to see something different, so you want to taste something different, you want to touch something different, you want to smell something different. That's why I always recommend spraying whatever on your wrist or something that's always near your nose, and you want to hear something different. Most people, it's okay if you just do it inside your head. Other people, you got to say that out loud. Say it out loud, look weird, it's fine. But that's something that I knew before, but I didn't know all of it. Like, I didn't know exactly what it was called and everything, so I got to look into it a little bit better, see the different variations. So that's something I got from therapy. And for me, going to therapy, because I of course wanted therapy, because I needed to hear that I was not crazy. Because when you're dealing with a narcissist, their biggest thing is to convince you without any doubt whatsoever that you are the problem, you are broken, you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to do anything, they are God. God complex is real. Like, so just hearing that your brain's just rewired differently. You have 3 different glands in your brain that are directly affected by abuse, especially verbal abuse. Your brain retrains itself to go directly to negative space, unsafe place, whatever have you. And the thing about therapy is they kind of help you navigate how to talk to yourself. Because I can talk to you. You can talk to me. I have to learn how to talk to me. And that's what my therapists all do for me. I chose to go to trauma therapy. Don't go to regular therapy and expect to get healed from your trauma. You have to see a trauma therapist. They have different terminologies. They know more about the brain. They know about the physical reactions. Trauma therapy. But also get yourself a very good regular therapist that has had some type of trauma therapy background or has had other trauma therapy patients. You don't like your therapist? Get a new one. They ain't doing good for you, you don't feel better afterwards, get a new one. Call different places. You have insurance, there's a lovely number on the back of it, you call it, they will tell you exactly where to go. They will call, they will make an appointment for you. That is their job. Customer service on the back of your insurance, that is their job. If you cannot afford insurance, you can still do a Google search of mental health in my area. You can target it specifically to what you need. You can ask for 17 different therapists until somebody makes it click in your brain that you are not broken. You are just rewired. That's what therapy does for me.
So, when I was exploring this information, I came upon a scripture in 2 Timothy 3:2. And because I don't have my Bible in front of me, I don't want to miss the opportunity to share this, but I shared it in a previous blog. This is how I started exploring this topic, and there was a video that I came across, and I hope to find it again, because if I do, I will put it in the link below in the description box. And what I found is, in this video, she goes into saying that there are forces at work, and she was talking about they treat themselves as gods. And that's exactly what this video went into, about the Python spirit and the Jezebel spirit, and how much prayer and protection we all need when we deal with the narcissists, because they come with a legion of demonic forces that most people are uncomfortable with. But once you recognize it, you deal with it, and you can at least accept that something that happens when you're in the midst of dealing with abuse. What the heck? When you're dealing with this level of abuse, it is so traumatic, as Sam had described. It is intense. The trauma bond, everything that we were just talking about, it's all important to know that there are forms of therapy like EMDR and ways to do the grounding techniques and things that will help you focus, and especially if you're having high anxiety. A lot of people go untreated, not because of the fact that they don't want the help, it's that they don't know where the help is. And that was one of the things I wanted to cover, is like where to get that help. Now, you can go EMDR therapy for the trauma, and this is usually diagnosed with PTSD, as associated with dealing with a narcissist. If you don't know that you're dealing with a narcissist, again, you have to look at the traits, and you can look it up online. It's real simple. All it does is take a little research on your part. And when you do your homework, it's easy to find out, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need help, and contact a therapist or someone that will examine you and help you get through this. Because without that kind of help, I do not know how any of us could survive or endure something this incredibly difficult situation. I was a hot mess when I went through it, so I personally don't know what I would have done if I had not gone to counseling. And, really, it was just like a cancer that was being taken out of me when I was in counseling. So the counseling is what helped save my life, literally. My therapist and my doctor thought my life was in danger. And, I really was in a lot of trauma at that point. So what I mean when I say Sam's experience and my experience and the many other experiences that other people have had are all very similar. It may not be the same people, but it's very, very similar. And it's just like you start to meet people and you start to say, oh my gosh, you went through this too. And you start to connect the dots. And it's amazing how healing it is to meet people like this.
You always find your people.
Always.
I told you that when I met you.
Yes, it's amazing. the connection
The
you
more
make.
you talk about it, the more you'll find other people.
Yeah, and you make that connection with other people that have been traumatized by maybe similar people or maybe the same person. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know if they were going through the same. It's amazing that anyone could connect like that and make that strong connection. And the connection I made with Sam, the connection I make with a lot of people now is just very common, and not interest, but common bond that we share. And we're all from different walks of life, but we all have something in common. Now, this is the end of the blog. I really appreciate you listening to our story, our experience on this very difficult topic that we tackled. But believe me, this has been incredible. By sharing this story and these experiences, it may be helpful to somebody that has never dealt with it or maybe is experiencing it. And I know by listening, you'll learn so much. Thank you again for listening.